Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Hops Geek News, your home for comic books, movies, TV shows, and it's a creator-focused episode, so it's going to be a good one. We have today Adam Downing, the founder of Resolve Comics, here to talk about Super Dangerous, issue number 1. We got to take a look at issue 1 and 2. This is, I promise you, very well worth your time. We're going to dive into a little bit there, but first things first, you know that we like to go ahead and make sure you know that Hops Geek News, any social media platform, YouTube, we've been so close to 1,000. So put us over the edge, man, just because staring at that 987 for a little bit is just killing our soul, I guess. I don't know, but do that. Find us each and every week. And then of course, any podcasting platform by the same name. So Adam, I want to say, start off, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for joining us, man. I had a chance to read these. I'm super pumped to talk about them because I got some really cool different vibes through whether it's Dragon Ball Z vibes through the fight sequences. And so I can't wait to kind of talk about your inspirations. But one thing that we really like to do is talk about, your origin story. Everybody has an origin story. What got you into comic books? And then how did Resolve Comics and Breakthrough Comics kind of get started?
Bet. Matt, Lauren, thank you guys for having me. I guess my origin story, how did I start writing comics? I don't know. I grew up watching a ton of anime. I was always that guy. And so I think after a while, I always had an overactive imagination too. So I think after a while, I just, started forming my own storylines and I just had to get them out somehow. So I landed on comics. I tossed the idea of writing a comic around with a friend in 2016. And, as with any project, people love the idea of an end product, but when it comes time to do
the actual work, yeah,
exactly right. People, it's poof, where they at. So, I didn't really get up off my behind and start really going after it until around 2019. And then honestly, when everything shut down in 2020, that was just the perfect time to just really start writing and going all in. And that's how Breakthrough Comics happened. That was my my little shared universe. I had this whole storyline plotted out, and my first comic, Project Angel, was the introduction to that universe. So I was writing that, I put that out, and then next came Offspring, and then I had an idea for a comic that I didn't want to connect to that universe. So that's kind of how Resolve Comics came about. Resolve Comics is a spot for me to Right. Yeah, it's a spot for me to kind of publish, the stories that I want to stand alone in their own universes. And that's really where I'm at.
You're not the first comic creator that has said that it was COVID that really got them to finally sit down and work on it. And I love hearing that just because it was such a crappy time for the whole world. So it's so nice to hear when good things actually came out of COVID. So that's really awesome that you got that time to finally sit down and do it.
Agreed. I noticed while it was happening, I when I started following people on social media and doing my due diligence, I was like, oh, okay, a lot of us are coming out or about to start coming out. So I agree. It's funny to see.
It is one of those things creativity went crazy. You could either just sit around and people either just were driving crazy, or it's probably one of the very rare times in our lives that we're going to get a chance to be forced to stay inside and not have a million things going on. And so to take that opportunity, where did you come up? How did you come up with the name for whether it was Breakthrough and Resolve? Kind of have an idea, but what were the reasons that you chose those names specifically?
I've never been asked that. Breakthrough Comics. I don't know. I guess it was kind of on the nose. I was just trying to break into the comics industry or whatever. I don't really know. It was just something
that's what I thought, but I didn't want to assume because it does make sense. Breakthrough, you're kind of, it's twofold because you talked about in 2016 starting one, and then finally, 2019, you kind of broke through that mental barrier or whatever it may be for you. And there you go, you started, and now, you have that shared universe and then you have your own separate universe, and look at how it's grown.
Definitely. If I'm going to be really honest, I think it was also a breaking through dark times and stuff like that. Coming out of, a tough place and then ending up writing comics and finding something that I like to do, which was, making comics.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Absolutely. So let's kind of talk about Super Dangerous then. Jah Sanders, I think this is a really interesting, it's not your typical superhero story, which I really like. Because it's very easy just to go in there and, superhero save the day. But Jah does a lot of things that are kind of the opposite than what you kind of expect when you're thinking superhero formulas. So why don't you take us into kind of how you dove into Jah and the inspirations behind this story?
Jah at his core is definitely just a power fantasy for me, just being a Black dude in America. He really is. He's a kid with all of the power. He's the most powerful being on, his planet. Like nobody can do anything or like check him or put him in any sort of box. And like for me, like writing that, I don't even know. Like I guess so short story, I was Lord Katodwe, like the guy who illustrated, did the lines and colors for Super Dangerous. I worked with him before I even wrote Super Dangerous. It was for, I worked with him on like a poster for a project that ended up getting scrapped. But like what he drew, I was like, all right, we got to work together. Like regardless, like we have to do something together, right?
His artwork in this is killer too. It's dope.
Crazy,
yeah, it's beautiful.
Right? It is like a heavy manga background, and like you really, it shines through in the panels. And then he also like wanted to flex his coloring on it, so
I mean, he even has
so
light reflections in like one scene that I was like, wow, that's like
It
most
goes
people don't
hard.
even think to do that.
Yes. Thank you guys for recognizing that, man. Like I was enamored with his work. So honestly, Super Dangerous was like it was like written for him, not for him, but it was like I want to write something. Like I want to work on something with him. Ended up writing Super Dangerous. It was supposed to be like 3-issue, like short or something, but the more I kind of worked on it, the bigger it grew. And then I don't know. It was just like I know my goal when writing it was really just to write something fun and like entertaining. I think I was like really just trying to hook people, and entertaining.
So how many issues do you expect the story to be total?
I'm feeling like, honestly, if you had asked me that like 2 months ago, I would have been like 50 to 100. But lately, I've been thinking I could wrap this joke, right? But
That's a lot of comics.
Yeah, right. Like, I do 1,000. No. But
be very anime though. I mean, if you're keeping in the spirit
right.
of manga and anime, it's like the long form, man. Why not?
Nah, I want this to be the next One Piece. It's never gonna end.
Yeah,
ever.
never ending. There we go.
No. I've been thinking I can wrap it up in like 25 issues, maybe. I don't know.
It's still a good amount of like decent story, especially
that is
where
a lot.
you started.
Right.
Like because in issue 1 and then even issue 2, without spoiling anything, there's a pretty kind of soul crushing cliffhanger at the end of issue 2, man. Like again, I didn't see it coming from where we picked up in issue 2 to where we end in that issue. It's kind of, soul crushing. I had no idea that was coming. And so for 25 issues, it's going to be really interesting to follow Jah's story, especially. And then, the main villain that we get introduced to was actually really interesting. And as somebody who also I just love the fact that God forbid the American government ever stay on their word just one time in the history. And yet again, like a minor spoiler, he works with the government and they kind of coerce him into working for them. So how did you craft these villains? What were some of the things you thought up when creating some of these demons and other types of things?
I have no idea. Like, honestly, I don't know. This was like this whole story, at least like the first 2 issues were definitely like kind of off the cuff, if I'm being really honest. I think I've built it out in like the explanation for like why, Strider like reacted to the sword and why he like got into like that big Hulk demon mode and all of that. Like I think I've tied that up nicely on the back end. But like initially writing it, like it was just like, all right, I need to give him something big and tough to like knock around. And I don't know. I think I just wanted a brawl,
Which
do you know in your head like where this is gonna end? Like, do you have like this is exactly how I want it to end? It's just a matter of how many issues to get there.
I do know where it's gonna end. even when I say that, it's like I do know where I do know where it's going. I do know. But I also have ideas for like sequels and stuff like that. I don't know.
So this is a world that could just keep growing and growing. As long as you have ideas, you'll keep building on it.
Right. I mean, yeah. Honestly, yeah.
I kind of get
those
like
are the most fun if the stories are there. Yeah, go for it.
I was going to say at the same time, a lot of this, I know a lot of it is anime driven, but it also does remind me a little bit of the like Invincible inspirations as well, just from his aspect. And right now he is the only kind of superhero out there. But what I like is you have made him a very complex character. So I know you mentioned you put, a little bit about yourself growing up in this culture in this world. So how much of you did you put into the character of Jah, or is it somebody that you just you took tiny bits and pieces of yourself to put in?
I would say, yeah, I guess I put like whenever I get my flippant or like happy-go-lucky nature. You know, I can be kind of like that at times. I guess that's something that like we're similar in. But other than that, I don't know. I don't know. I think he just kind of, you know, he came to life like everybody else does,
Yeah.
like all the other characters do, right?
And that's what makes him
Um,
like really good, considering you wrote this first two issues off the cuff. I would say that's very impressive with how complex you made him in a multifaceted character.
Thank you. You're really talking him up. I appreciate
I,
that. And
I mean,
We didn't
it's
say it if we don't mean it. Yeah.
no, for real. It's really refreshing getting to see, because
yeah,
how often do you pick up a superhero book and you they have certain rules, they have certain things, but with Jah,
right,
it's very real and very raw in a lot of ways, because there's some things that happen to him personally that hit home. And despite trying to be a hero, he makes a comment of, "Oh, you guys want to make a villain? You got one, essentially." And I
right.
always joke around. One of the things I always joke around with is I always try to do good in every day, but the current world out there, I tell my wife all the time, like, I swear to God, you better hope I never get superpowers, because I'd be out here like Dr. Doom. And it's not like I want to hurt people. It's just
Homelander,
like,
everybody.
it's just one of
Right,
those things. Like, it's very, very, he's a college kid. So he's still got those
right.
emotions. He's very emotionally
Right.
driven.
His
And
brain's
I
still
really like
growing.
how you wrote him
Yeah.
like that. It's very awesome to read. And for me, that's what sucked me in, aside from the amazing artwork and the fight sequences that went down. It was a lot of, his character and how you wrote him, especially coming right off the cuff, finding that out. It's damn, dude, like really good writing.
Yeah, and you know, even it's funny that you mentioned like you better hope I never get superpowers. Like I feel like that too, and I think I kind of like hopefully like reading like Super Dangerous is supposed to be kind of cathartic for if you feel that way. Like we all wish we could get some Superman powers and go. There's some people that what I mean.
Yeah, you just say it. Like, I got a list.
Some Lex Luthor.
Right.
I don't have a list, dear FBI. I don't have a list, but
Exactly right.
superpowers.
FBI. Right. But that's like I said, like it's a power fantasy at its core. It's supposed to be like cathartic for, people who feel this way. And also just like on, back to like Jah's whole character arc, like writing him like or starting him off as like this kind of naive, like happy-go-lucky kid. And now he has these powers. Nobody can really hurt him like that. But like, his whole character, but like especially at the end of issue number 2, he's gonna start like he steps into this isolation that, is gonna that's kind of his beginning, and he's gonna have to like deal with that throughout the series, right?
Because this is his origin story. I guess we're still, getting to know the character. So
Yeah.
And it makes for a good hero's journey. And I know we kind of talked in this week. You're campaigning right now, so this current campaign gets ready to wrap up this week. So what kind of things are we looking at as far as your campaign goes? What did you want to drive as far as getting people to invite them into this world?
I mean, yeah, just y'all just gotta read. Honestly, like if anybody's curious, I would say go to Global Comics. Like issue number 1 is up there for free. Like I invite, like you don't have to buy anything. Just read issue 1, see if you like it. Anyway, and like goodies and as far as like goodies and like rewards go, like we have variant covers for issue number 1 and 2 that I just dropped on there. So and outside of that, we have a bunch of other comics. I got comics about like sentient action figures who have to navigate and survive in the outside world. Like,
That's dope.
I got comics about werewolves and a bunch of stuff. So just check it out, see if you like anything, and yeah.
I mean, looking at the website breakthroughcomics.com, you have a whole link for free comics. And so you got like Project Angel up there and your Werewolf One Offspring, for example. And then you even have a really cool thing of, if you sign up for the newsletter, you send people free comics. Like, I think that's
Right.
a really good way to draw people in as well. It's giving them a taste of what you have to offer. And then, because how often do people are very, kind of almost timid to break into something new. And so I think what's unique about your marketing campaign is giving them that taste and then, hey, come on in, and inviting them in. And then you have so many other things. You shop Resolve Comics, you go through the Breakthrough Comics, you have the news. There's a lot of really cool things I think you guys have done as far as your website goes, just the campaign in general.
I appreciate you mentioning that, because even I'll be honest, like the beginning of this campaign I felt was a little bit slow, or slower than I thought it would be, right? And after attending a con this weekend and moving like a lot more comics than I thought I would, I think I've come to the conclusion that I do want to like restructure my marketing, right? And so as I do that, and as I like restructure my email list, I was just thinking, I'm going to do something similar. Like, I have a few manga shorts that I'm going to drop later this year, but I'm thinking like I might include those as like incentives, right? So I don't know. I don't know why I just said that, but it's just, these are things.
Well, no, I mean, it makes
No, it
sense.
makes sense,
If it makes sense, it drives, it's everybody. There's so many Kickstarters out there. There's so many, a lot of people doing things. So it's how do you separate yourself? And I think you're doing a really good job of that. You're diversifying, you're kind of capturing a little bit of both sides of the aisle. You've got people that are into manga, maybe they don't read comics and vice versa. And I know for me, I think, especially this issue or in this story, it's got kind of the best of both worlds and it could really invite both worlds in. So I very much think people should check that out. And so giving out, not just the comics, but some of the manga stories you have, why not? Because then I think at that point, you don't see a lot of people doing that. And it's a really good idea.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Thank you.
And also, I get coming back from conventions. You have so much going on, so many business cards. You made so many contacts, and so you're figuring it all out. But speaking of that, do you have any upcoming conventions where people might be able to meet you in person and get a comic in person?
You guys are like really on with these questions. I do. Like Awesome Con, I will be at Awesome Con April 4th.
Man, I'm usually at that one, but I am not there this time because I'm out of I'm going on a cruise. Damn it.
Oh.
Terrible.
Yeah, damn it. Dang it.
Dang it. I know. I'm going for my 10-year anniversary. We're dumping the kids off at my parents' house. But Awesome Con's a really good convention.
Yeah, no, yeah. I'll be at Awesome Con, slinging some book, catch me there, And that's, I think, the last one of like spring season so far. I'll probably be at a bunch of pop-ups. And then as far as like the summer goes, I'm going to try to make like Otakon and Baltimore Comic-Con. So we'll see.
Oh, so you're like in my region. Okay. Yeah. I'm
I'm in Baltimore.
Okay. Yeah. So I'm down here by Richmond. So we'll be at Richmond Comic-Con.
Okay.
I'm always at MegaCon in Orlando because I'm down here.
Yeah, we got that one. She's coming up to Richmond. MegaCon's a good one to get to, especially like Baltimore Comic. MegaCon Orlando is a good comic.
Okay.
And then I would look into Terrificon even. Terrificon is very comic book driven. That's one of the ones. It's the Mohegan Sun in Connecticut. That's a very, very good comic book driven. That's one where a lot of comic book people go. They love it. And then same with Baltimore Comic-Con. Obviously, you've been there. It's that one I've heard good things about. And that's one I want to make. So I might try to make that one because it's usually in like September, which is a good time. And it gives me an excuse to go check out a Ravens game because I love going to NFL stadiums. So
go Ravens.
I want to check out. I mean, as a Packer fan, I just love going to different, and I love Lamar Jackson. I'm a giant Lamar Jackson fan. So it would just give me a good excuse. And then, get to meet a lot of cool people like yourself that we get to talk to through this and read your comics and then get to actually hopefully hold the physical and, get to meet you and stuff. And that'd be really rad too. But that's really cool. Like Awesome Con's a great one. And then Baltimore's good, so it's pretty dope that you get to go to these Comic-Cons.
Definitely. And I'll definitely check out these other like Terrificon and MegaCon. Like my dad's in Cape Coral, so I mean, can't be like too far.
Yeah, and then I mean Connecticut from Baltimore, I mean it's not that far. It's like 5 hours or so. It's Terrificon is one of the best in the country.
MegaCon's gotten massive.
Like
it was, what did they say? There was like more people here this year than there were at San Diego Comic-Con. I did not fact check that. I heard that from a friend who works in hospitality and staffed the meeting. So I believe, but yeah.
Because I also want to say, I think Charlotte's the other one that's really big for comics, but Terrificon is like the one that a lot of the big names specifically go to just because it is so comic creator driven.
That's good.
Aside from that, though, where can people keep up with you and, Breakthrough Comics, Resolve Comics, and where they can keep an eye on where to find you guys?
I would say like Instagram is where I'm probably going to be most active, Breakthrough Comics, BREAKTHRU Comics. Twitter, Breakthrough Comics, same, BREAKTHRU Comics with an X. I don't know, Bluesky as well, if people are on there.
75 different.
Bluesky. I haven't heard somebody call it that one. That's cute.
Bluesky, is it Blue Sky? I don't know.
I always call it Blue Sky, but Bluesky makes sense. I like that better.
68 million, it can be exhausting for creators.
And you're the same one on Blue Sky, you said? Breakthrough Comics?
Okay. Yes.
Sure.
And Facebook.
Everything's in the show notes too. For anybody out there listening who wants to, make sure to drop a follow. Lauren, as we wrap up, do you have any final questions?
No, just make sure if you're going to get the Kickstarter, and I think that's great. Take advantage of the first one and then go do the second one. And you can find him, on all those socials. So I think that's about it. And I will say, if you heard anime and that scared you a little, I'm not a huge anime fan. I loved the artwork. I thought the artwork was fantastic. It was beautiful. It wasn't one of those where
That's what I'm saying. It brings people from the other side. I'm telling you.
So so don't let that scare you if that's not your thing. If that is your thing, then even better.
Lauren's audience is Target moms, and she's in the bag, folks.
Target
so if you
mom?
need anything else, yeah, you know, the moms that shop at Target. Yeah,
no, I'm not shopping there now.
I know. Now, she's a Costco mom
hit me
now.
Where it hurts right now, Matt. Thanks.
That's how you know this is a good comic. But really, Adam, I really want to say thank you so much for swinging on through and sharing your comics with us. And anytime you want to come and chat, just drop us a line. We are here. And then for anybody else listening out there, Hops Geek News, that's where you can find us on socials, podcasting platforms. If somehow you found this, where do I go next? Surprise, here we are. And drop us a line. If there's anything that you liked about this, make sure to hit up Adam, or if you have any questions, anything that we messed up on, DMs are always open. And for now,
a shout out.
We do.
Or a correction.
We do. We have a whole segment on what did we mess up on. It's the greatest thing because I love it. But again, Adam, thank you so much for hanging out with us. And we'll see everybody next week. And, today is Wednesday when this airs. So I hope you guys check out our live Daredevil Born Again recap episode tonight at, Lauren, was it going to be 8 p.m. Eastern?
We're recording with Trevor at 8, so it might be 9.
So 9 p.m. Eastern tonight when you're all listening to this, hopefully. Daredevil Born Again live on our YouTube. We're talking about the third episode. Be there, or, maybe you have some. You might be asleep like I usually am on the couch. But anyways, we'll see you guys next time. Peace.